Today is my 30th birthday, and I have some things to share about what I learned in my first 3 decades of being here on this planet. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. Hi, my friend, and welcome back to Live Unrestricted. I am back. Oh my goodness. You may not have noticed, but I haven't recorded a new podcast episode in almost a month now, which has not happened since the beginning of this podcast. What was it? 3.5 years ago at this point. And I am going to get into why and what I've been up to and what's been going on in my life in a few weeks. I don't know quite when, but I'm going through quite a metamorphosis right now, and it's a lot and it's nothing to be worried about, but there is a lot coming up for me, and I was just being called to take a break. Like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it on this podcast because I feel like it's still cooking, and the lessons, the takeaways, the insights, the breakthroughs that I'm going to extract from what I'm currently going through, they're still in the oven. They're not quite ready yet. They're not quite clear to me, and I want to be able to come to you with clarity. All that to say, I am back, and today is my 30th birthday. So it just so happened that August 26th is today, and I am turning 30 today. And this feels like a really big birthday. I've never been one to do big things for my birthday. I don't love, it makes me uncomfortable to ask people to take time out of their busy lives to show up for me, to take a day for me, to celebrate me. And trust me, I know that that's some work for me to do on my end, because I know that my friends and my family and the people who love me are so excited to show up and to celebrate me. But it's just always kind of made me uncomfortable. But this year, it just feels like a big birthday. My 20s were challenging and beautiful at the same time. There was so much growth in my 20s. I started my business. I lived in Italy and I lived in France, and there was the pandemic, and I moved from one friend group to another, and I started dating Luke, and I was also in university at the beginning of my 20s. There has been a lot that has happened in my 20s, and I've learned so much. I am so proud of the decisions that I made in my 20s, because I'm going to be able to take those choices and the results of those choices and bring that into my 30s. I am so excited for my 30s. I truly believe that life is just going to keep getting better and better. I do not believe that your 20s are the best time of your life. I do not believe that the golden age is behind me at all, because 20s can be really confusing and you're like in this weird period of transition. So all that to say, I wanted to do this episode where I talk about 30 things that I figured out before the age of 30. These are lessons that I sat down with, and I really thought about what are some things that I learned and that I can share, and they're going to span from big life lessons to small, insignificant things that made a really big difference and had a big impact on my life, things that I'm so happy that I figured out when I was young. And as I was making this list, I was really thinking about you and how this could benefit you. And as I'm sharing this, some I will elaborate on, some I will just give it to you straight and move on, because I don't want this to be super, super long episode. But I really do think that these are things that when I was in my 20s and earlier than that, I wish someone had shared with me. And a lot of these I learned the hard way through trial and error and lots of failures and lots of guides and mentors along the way. I have invested heavily into my personal growth in my 20s. I've worked with so many coaches and mentors who are so incredible, who I've learned so much from. And so some of these came from those environments as well. So what do you say? Let's just get into it. Lesson number 1 is you can't think your way into healing. You can't logic your way into healing. You can't intellectualize your problems, and just by being aware enough of what's happening, expect for things to change. This is definitely a big lesson that I learned and that I continue to apply on a daily basis. I used to think that if I just read the books and I just listened to the podcast and I just knew everything about what I was going through, whether it was back when I had my disordered eating issues, or then when I started struggling with my relationship with work or with anxiety and with just constantly hustling and working and being productive and being busy, you cannot think your way into healing. It needs to happen in your body, because the reasons why we do the things that we do, we repeat the patterns that we repeat, is because on some level, it is deeply ingrained in your nervous system. It is a protection mechanism where some part of you doesn't feel safe. And so whether it's your constant dieting, or it's being a workaholic, or it's constantly overspending, over shopping, whatever those things are for you that you want to change and you want to end, then just being so aware of what's happening will not change. It requires safety to let go of those patterns. And that can only be done when you work with your somatics, you work with your nervous system, and you create that safety to move into something different. So that is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, losing friendships is not a failure. There's a lot of people in my life who have the same friends that they've had for the past 20 years. And for a long time, I thought there was something wrong with me, because over the years, I have moved friend groups. I have changed who I spend my time with a lot. And I used to think that it was because, like I said, because there was something wrong with me. I couldn't hold on to friendships, whatever the story was. But I would say in the past 3 to 4 years, what I really started learning and recognizing is that when you grow and when you are working on yourself, and I deeply work on myself because this work, that's what is required of me to always be dreaming bigger and doing things that scare me and stepping outside of my comfort zone. When your number 1 value is growth, then you start realizing that not everyone feels the same way, and you end up outgrowing certain friendship where the conversations that you're having, you just no longer resonate with, and you're doing such deeper work. And this is not coming from I am better than someone else. It's just, we no longer resonate at the same frequency, right? We're in completely different stages, in completely different stages of life. And to choose yourself and to choose to surround yourself with people who challenge you, who resonate with you, who you can have the kind of conversations that you want to have, it's okay to make the decision to move on from a friendship. And it does not mean that you failed. And in fact, if you are someone who is deeply committed to changing and to improving your life, then chances are that you will notice over time that certain people that you used to really get along with, you just don't have the same values, don't have the same interests, can't have the same conversations that you used to have. And so lesson number 2, losing friendships is not a failure. And most of the time, it is just a sign that you are growing. Lesson number 3, it's okay to be misunderstood. There are people who will be committed to not understanding you, who are so committed to having their point of view of who is right and who is wrong, and they don't want to see it a different way. And I have just learned that as long as my heart and my intention is always pure, and I'm showing up in who I truly am, and I'm showing up in love, and I'm not intentionally hurting anyone, then it's okay if someone doesn't understand me. It's okay if I trigger someone. It's okay if I don't like someone, because like I said, there are people who are committed to misunderstanding you, and I'm not going to waste my energy on trying to convince someone who doesn't want to be convinced. And I know that this is a hard one. I know that a lot of people, and even when I talk about this with my clients inside of Food Freedom Academy, they have a really hard time with people misunderstanding them. They want to justify, they want to show people their point of view, but there are some people who do want to have that conversation with you, but there are other people who are so committed to making you wrong. And so just having that acceptance of you can only do what is in your power, which is having a pure intention, being in integrity with yourself, with your boundaries, and showing up with love. And if people are going to misunderstand you or judge you or dislike you from that standpoint, then it is what it is. There's not much that you can do about it at that point. All right, lesson number 4. Eating is a non-negotiable. This is for all of you girlies out there who are listening. Eating is a non-negotiable. At this point in my life, I will never just forget to eat. I will never say, oh, I'm hungry, but like it's not that important. I'll eat in 2 hours. Eating is a priority. It is a non-negotiable. If I am hungry and I have food available or I can make food available, then I will make that a priority, because I know that when I am not fed, when I am not nourished, first of all, that is not respectful towards my body, but I also don't show up as my best. I am hangry. I'm impatient. I am not myself. And so eating is a non-negotiable. Even if there's a day where I've eaten all of my meals and all of my snacks and I am still hungry at the end of the day, I will listen. Lesson number 5, your deepest desires will often be the hardest to achieve and require the most healing from you. This is a recent lesson that I really came to understand on a visceral level. The thing that you want the most in your life. For some people, it is having a healthy, loving relationship. For some people, it's having kids. For some people, it's their career. And the thing that you want the most in your life will often be the thing that feels the hardest for you to achieve. Not to mention, I'm just going to backtrack. For some people, it's having a healthy relationship with food and their body. And you are not given that desire. Your soul did not give you that desire for no reason. Your desires aren't random. Oftentimes, your deepest desires are there for you because there is healing and growth available for you within that. So what I mean by that is my deepest desire is to have as big of an impact as I can on this earth by helping people change and transform and understand themselves, their brains, their bodies, so that they can break free from the shackles that hold them back, live the life that they're meant to live, be free, be at peace. And that is my deepest desire. And it's also been the thing that has required the most healing from me, because along with that deepest desire requires things that were not considered safe when I was growing up. And so it requires me to be visible, very visible. It requires me to be disliked. It requires me to be fully myself, which was not encouraged and did not feel safe growing up. It requires a lot of things from me that I get to heal so that I can achieve that deepest desire. And so when you look at that thing in your life, and this is usually what I call people's Mount Everest. And I often say that people have like one or two Mount Everest. And those are the things that have just been so hard and required so much healing from them. And for you, it might be your relationship with food and your body. And when you look at that, when you see it hard to achieve and you see that it's felt like a struggle and it's felt like something that you've worked on for years or decades, first of all, I hear you and I get it, because I have been working on my relationship with work and with my deepest desires and with visibility for years. And it's a work in progress. But when you look at it and you find that it's been really hard, when you can reframe it and see that, okay, this is my Mount Everest. This is my thing that's showing up in my life so that I can heal parts of me, because the food and the body image, they're just symptoms, right? It usually when you come down to it and you do that deeper healing work, you will recognize that it really has nothing to do with food in your body. It has everything to do with your worth and feeling good enough and feeling adequate and feeling loved and feeling peace and feeling safe in your body. So that is lesson number 5. Your deepest desires will often be the hardest to achieve and require the most healing from you. Lesson number 6. Life is like a video game and there is no finish line. I used to think that like, okay, I'm just going to do all of this healing now, and then I'm not going to have to do it again in the future. Like if I could just do it now, then I'm going to be done. And I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to be self-actualized and I'm going to be great and at peace and no work is going to be left. And couldn't be further from the truth. When I say life is like a video game, what I mean is that there are levels. And when you imagine level 1 in your life, in level 1, there's going to be certain challenges and certain lessons for you to learn within that level. And you will not pass that level until you learn the lessons from it. And once you learn the lessons from that level, then you move on to level 2. And in level 2, you're going to have a different set of challenges and you're going to have a different set of lessons to learn. And every time that you move from level to level to level, then yes, your life improves. The quality of your life improves. You might notice that your relationships get healthier and you have better boundaries and you make more money, or you're more fulfilled, or you feel more safe in your body. But with every level, what happens is that you get a new set of desires. You start to dream bigger, and you can hold both the gratitude and the desire for more growth at the same time. But within each level, there's going to be new lessons for you to learn. And so it never ends. It is like the layers of the onion that you just keep peeling over and over and over again. So that is lesson number 6. And whenever I'm in a quote unquote level in my life, and I notice that, and you might call it a chapter, right? Like this is the chapter. This is my chapter right now. Then whenever I'm in a level in my life and I feel like I've been in this level for a long time and I'm starting to feel stuck, I'm starting to feel like, oh my God, I just keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. I have to ask myself, what lesson am I not learning here? What is the universe trying to present to me as a lesson? But instead of sitting down, slowing down, and being present with it, I just blame myself. I assume there's something wrong with me. And I tell myself that this just isn't possible. When that's not the case, there's always a lesson there for you. And that leads me to lesson number 7, which is when something needs to change in your life, the universe will first throw you a pebble, then a rock, and then finally a boulder, which means that if there is a pattern, a dynamic in your life, a way that you relate to yourself in your life that is no longer serving you, that cannot come with you, life will first throw you a pebble, which means that it will hurt just a little bit. It will just sting enough. Maybe it's in a relationship and things are going to start to feel not great, but not so bad that you pay attention. But you have the choice. You have the choice to make a change when things sting just a little bit. But most often people don't make that change when the pebble comes. And so then the universe will throw you a rock. It will start to hurt a little bit more. And oftentimes people don't listen to that either. And so life will throw you a boulder and it will hurt a lot. And that is what often we experience as rock bottom, where it hurts so much that we have no choice but to pay attention and to make a change in our life. And people will often experience that as a diagnosis, as a loss, as a loss of a job, of a career, where it feels like everything is falling apart. And so I have just learned to not, at least to try not to wait until the boulder. I won't say that I am perfect at it. And sometimes it does take a boulder, but to notice when the pebble is knocking at my door and to do something about it then, instead of letting it get worse and worse and worse until I'm forced to pay attention. Lesson number 8 is that your biggest breakdowns will often lead to your biggest breakthroughs if you let it. I don't think that I need to elaborate on that one. If you take the moments in your life where you feel at your lowest, whether it is, I had a friend who was in a 7-year-long relationship that ended and he felt like he was losing everything in his life. And he felt like this was his complete rock bottom. And we had told him when he was going through that breakup, you could either make the worst thing that's ever happened to your life, or you can make it the best thing that's ever happened to your life. And you get to choose. You get to choose how you take this, how you view this, what your perspective is, and what you build on the other side of that. Because when you want to build a new home, you have to tear down what was there before. And oftentimes things will get stripped away from you to make space for something better. But you have to choose to look at the lessons, to look at what wasn't working that led to this breakdown. And how can I learn, going back to this analogy of life being a video game, how can I learn the lessons from this level so that the next level is so much better, so much brighter, so much happier, so much more peaceful. Lesson number 9, stop buying cheap, dumb things that you don't need. We live in a world where we are such materialists and we will buy things as a way to fill some sort of hole and feel some sort of joy from buying that thing. And I just learned in my 20s that buying things is not going to actually make my life better. I buy things when I need them and I buy things when it's important to me, but buying like small trinkets or a bunch of clothes or a bunch of gadgets that I don't need will not make me happier, and it's bad for the environment. And that leads me to lesson number 10, care about the environment. That's all. Care about the environment. This is our home. I would like this to be our home forever. And so care about the environment. Lesson number 11, in life, you will either get the results that you wanted or the lesson that you needed. I have failed many, many, many times in my business. And every time I went into it having this goal, having this result that I wanted to get out of it. And every time that I did not get the results that I wanted is because there was a lesson that needed to be learned. in order for me to eventually down the line get the results that I wanted. And so when it comes to you, I want you to think about your dieting history. I want you to think about all of those times where you tried something and it failed and you didn't get what you wanted out of it. Instead of making it mean something about you, about your character, about your ability to change your life, how can you look at it as what lesson was here for me to learn about the way that I approach my body, the way that I approach eating, the way that I feel about myself, what I'm looking for when I'm chasing this smaller body, when I'm chasing the perfect diet. You will either get the result that you wanted or the lesson that you needed. Perfectionism is not a personality trait. It's a protection mechanism. That is lesson number 12. I, for the longest time, told myself, I'm just a perfectionist. I'm just born this way. This is just how I am. I come from a family of overachievers. And what I have learned is that it is not a personality trait. It is not something to wear as a badge of honor. It is a protection mechanism. It is a part of me that learned that in order to feel a sense of safety or to protect me from possible pain, of failure, of feeling not good enough, then everything needed to be perfect. And just because it is something that's been around and been part of how I operate for so long, it does not mean A, that it's healthy. It's not. And it does not mean B, that it needs to be part of my life forever. This is something that I can I can do some healing. I can understand what is this trying to protect me from, going underneath the hood and healing that so that I don't feel this anxiety to do things perfectly all of the time. Lesson number 13, everyone should meditate. That's it. Everyone should meditate as much as everyone should move their body and exercise their body and their muscles. Everyone should exercise their mind. It has been one of the biggest, most important habits that I have developed in my entire life. Lesson number 14, the most important thing someone can do or can learn about is how their nervous system works. I could do a full episode on this. You guys know how I feel about nervous system and somatics work, but it has completely changed my life. It is how I view my life. And anytime I'm talking to someone who is repeating a pattern in their life or breaking down or feeling frustrated or feeling like they can't change, what they'll often tell me is about their problems. They'll often be hyper aware of what's going on. Maybe they've even gone to therapy. And when I start asking them about their nervous system and how much they work with their nervous systems or know about their nervous system, most of them have no idea what I'm talking about. And it is the thing that will help you finally understand why you can know everything about your problem and still be repeating it anyway. So nervous system work, one of the most important things that someone can learn. Lesson number 15, stop trying to be someone you're not. When you start being yourself, the wrong people will filter themselves out of their life and the right people will find you. I have done this many, many times for many years, trying to fit into a group that wasn't my group to fit into and morphing myself and hiding who I really was. And what just ends up happening is you're with those people, but you don't feel safe. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel fully present and in the moment. And when I just allowed myself to be fully myself, yes, I had some friend groups and some friendships that fell away, but they were replaced with friendships that were so much more aligned and felt so much better, so much safer, so much more like I could be authentic and who I was. And so I am done trying to be someone that I am not. Lesson number 16, stop drinking alcohol. I did a full episode on why I stopped drinking on this podcast. I can't remember when exactly. So if you're interested in listening to that episode, you can just type in the search bar alcohol and you can listen to that episode. But oh my goodness, I have not felt hungover and anxiety and just like the awfulness that comes with drinking the next day. I have not felt that in years. And I'm so grateful. Stop drinking alcohol. Lesson number 17, one of the greatest skills that you can have is being able to ask really good questions. A lot of people are so concerned with being the most interesting person in the room. And what I've learned is when you focus on being the most interested person in the room and getting to know people, you can learn something from absolutely anyone. And people love talking about themselves. And when you can provide a safe space and ask questions that invite people to open up, not only will you create such amazing relationships and connections, but people will walk away from that interaction feeling heard. A lot of people don't have that space. We do so much small talk. And I could not be bothered by small talk. It literally makes my insides shrivel. I hate small talk. I want to hear about the real stuff. I want to hear what you're excited about, what you're struggling with, how I can support you. And I have often been told that I have really good questions, that I ask people really good questions. And this is a skill that you can learn. And if you are someone who wants to make really great connections and meet new people, and you want to feel comfortable and confident in social settings instead of anxious, then learning how to ask really good questions is such an important skill. Lesson number 18, the state of your external reality is a reflection of your internal state, meaning your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional habits. And so if you look at your life and you look at the relationships that you have and the amount of money that you have and the place that you live in or the things that you experience, it is a reflection of what you believe you're capable of, what you believe you are worthy of, what you believe about yourself. And so I always look at if someone is telling me that they are not happy about something in their life, how can we look inwards and look at, well, what is creating this external reality? If you imagine that your life is just the whiteboard on which you project something. And if you remember like years and years ago, back when projectors were still a thing, you project onto this whiteboard. If you don't like what's showing up on this whiteboard, you don't change the whiteboard. You change the picture that you're putting into the projector. And so it's about looking inwards to see, what do I believe about myself? What are the emotions that I let drive my daily behaviors and choices that have created this external reality? Lesson number 19, avoidance is one of the most expensive things that you can do. Okay, this one we can have a full conversation around, but let me just keep it simple. I see a lot of people, and it's a common thing we avoid because we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to confront certain things in our life that are going to be challenging and difficult and require us to change. And so we just put it off and we say it's not that bad and it's not that important. But when I say that it's one of the most expensive things that you can do, not only is it expensive in money, and oftentimes it can be. We avoid looking at our finances. We avoid investing. We avoid investing in our health. But it's expensive in time because something that you could have looked at 10 years ago and gotten a hold of, instead, it had 10 years to build and get worse. And then you get to a point where you can't go back in time and make things different. And for me, I am not scared of wasting money. I am scared of wasting time because I can always make more money. I cannot always make more time. And I have learned that when I make the fear of regret a driver for me, it serves me because I am no longer making decisions from what feels good and comfortable right now. I am making decisions from what would Sabrina 10 years from now want me to do. Lesson number 20, read books. Oh my goodness, so much of what I've learned and improved on in my life has been through reading books. It has allowed me to have better conversations and take control of my actions and my decisions and how I think. So, yeah, read books, pretty simple. Lesson number 21, stop watching the news. It is a constant stream of negativity and fear and highlighting the worst things in the world, and what you consume on a daily basis impacts your biology, your psyche, how you feel, how you think, how you perceive the world. I stopped watching the news years ago and I will never go back to it. Am I informed with what's going on in the world? Absolutely. There are other ways to stay informed than watching the news, which is designed to keep you in fear and to get your attention in that way. Lesson number 22, you can't help others if you don't help yourself first. It is not selfish to focus on yourself. You cannot pour from an empty bucket. I'm sure that you have all heard this before, but it is true. Lesson number 23, just because everyone else is living a certain way, it doesn't mean that it's the quote unquote right way and that it's the right way for you. So many people live their life in survival where they are constantly scrolling, distracting, avoiding, numbing, engaging in behaviors that come from a place of survival. And just because it's normalized, just because it's the way that 80% of people live, it doesn't mean that it's the quote unquote right way or it's the way that I need to show up in my life. And for me, a big one is hustle culture. For the longest time, I thought that the way to be successful, the way to be respected was to just work all the time and be productive all the time. And I see this even in some of my friends who wear it as a badge of honor that they're always working and overworking and never taking time for themselves. And just because a way of living is normalized and it is common, it does not mean that it is right for me. And I value taking things slowly now. I value rest. I value time with myself. I also have a lot of friends who they're always running around, always juggling a million things and having a million social plans. And that is wonderful. But if I did that, I would be so burnt out and my social battery would be in the negatives. And I have just learned to listen to myself, to go at a rhythm that makes sense for me, to spend time alone, to slow down. So that has been a really valuable lesson. And this could be expanded into a much bigger conversation about life choices. For example, I don't want kids. Luke and I don't want kids. This might change sometime in the future, but when I listen to myself and I listen to the life that I want to live, it's just not in the vision for me. I love children. I love my nieces and nephews. I so encourage people to have kids. It's just not in my path. It was something that I wrestled with for a really long time, feeling like I should want this. I'm a woman. I should want this. And just learning to live a life that is in alignment with what I want and who I am, and not apologizing and not needing to justify that to anyone, because I know my truth, and that is so incredibly freeing. Lesson number 24, prioritize your sleep. Prioritize your sleep. My life is just so much gloomier. My mood is so much worse. My choices are worse. The way my brain functions, the way my body functions, everything about my life just is so much worse when I don't get good sleep. I had one of those experiences last night where it was a friend's birthday. Luke and I went to bed at 1 a.m., which is very unusual for us. And the next day was quite a struggle. And we fought more than we usually do. We were fighting. We had arguments. We were bickering more. Our moods were worse. We were impatient. And my body feels like shit. So prioritize sleep. Lesson number 25, social media / your phone can destroy you if you let it. I make a really big effort to be mindful of how much time I spend on my phone. I have all of these blockers and mechanisms in place to stop me from scrolling for hours because it's easy. It's easy to get down that rabbit hole. It's easy to waste your time on it, to waste your energy, to compare yourself to others, to feel like shit on the platform. And I just know that how I feel when I spend a lot of time on social media versus when I don't is night and day. And so as a PSA, I'm not the first one to say it, but I'm just going to repeat it because sometimes we need that reminder. Be mindful of how much time you spend on social media / your phone, and also recognize when certain people, certain things make you feel bad about yourself. You have control over that. You can unfollow people. You can have control over your algorithm and what you engage in. You can make your social media a happy place to be. Lesson number 26, treat people the way that you want to be treated. Again, this is a cliche. This is something we've all heard before. But if I don't want people showing up late every time we hang out, I am not going to show up late when we hang out. If I want someone to warn me if they're going to be late by sending me a quick text, hey, I'm going to be 10 minutes late, I am going to go and be that person who sends the text if I'm stuck in traffic. And it's so simple, but we often don't do it, right? If I want to feel like my friends reach out to me, they invite me to things, they show up for me, but I am not doing that for them, I am not reaching out, I am not making plans, then how can I possibly expect that to be reciprocated? So I get to start first, and what I put out into the world, I receive back tenfold. So treat people the way you want to be treated. Number 27, consistency beats perfection every single time, especially when I think about movement, I think about self-care, I think about the habits that I've engaged in over the past few years. I am at the healthiest I've ever been. And I can say that without a doubt. I feel strong. I feel flexible. I feel energetic. Sure, I do have some chronic pain here and there because of my back and physical tension and stress, which I'm always working on, but I feel so good in my body, and I am far from perfect. There are days where I don't work out. Yesterday, went to bed at 1 a.m. I didn't work out yesterday. I did 30 minutes of stretching because that's what felt good. I barely walked. I barely moved my body, but that's part of it. That's part of the whole plan when you want to be sustainable. Is it's not about perfecting. It's not about not eating any fun foods for 2 weeks and then going on a binge. It's about finding a balance, being able to allow yourself to be imperfect, to do the bare minimum when that is required from you. And it's by making consistency my priority. And consistency doesn't mean you're showing up the same way every single day, by the way. It means that one day you're going to be at 80%. One day you're going to be at 30%. One day you're going to be at 100%, and you're going to feel absolutely freaking amazing. But it's about showing up with what you have and doing what you can with what you're given. And so some days, all I can do is a 5-minute meditation. Some days I don't have time to meditate at all, but that's okay because the next day I'm going to show up and I'm going to do what I can. So consistency is number 1. Lesson number 28, focus on how you feel, not how you look. This was a lesson that I learned when I was healing my disordered eating, was healing my body image. And what's really interesting is that when you focus on how you feel instead of how you look, you end up appreciating how you look more, because when you focus on how you feel, you end up making choices that are actually good for you, that have your well-being as a priority. Because oftentimes when we're so focused on how we look, what we end up doing is we engage in these extreme behaviors that aren't actually loving or respectful or healthy for our bodies. We starve ourselves, we restrict ourselves, we over-exercise. We exercise when we're sick, when our nervous system is completely fried, right? We engage in behaviors that get us further away from the healthy body that we want to be in. Lesson 29, being scared isn't a reason not to do something. Just because I don't feel good, just because I don't feel excited, just because I don't have this perfect alignment and motivation in my body to do something, it does not mean that this is not right for me. Because the reality is, the way our nervous system works, that oftentimes the things that we've never done before, that we can't predict, that are unfamiliar, will inevitably feel scary for us. And I just have recognized that that is not a good enough reason to not do something, in that the most growth, the biggest lessons have always been on the other side of fear. And so chase that discomfort, chase the things that are new and that feel scary for you, because if you let fear be the thing that stops you from doing anything in your life, then you will end up living a really small life, because you will only do the things that feel familiar, that feels predictable. And so not much novelty, not much excitement lives within that box of the predictable. And finally, we made it to the end of the list. Almost an hour, but it's okay, because I wanted to get through all of this. I wanted to give you some context on what this means for me and how this could be applied for you. Lesson number 30 that I learned in my first 30 years of living is that I am my greatest investment. I chose to spend my biggest amounts of money on myself in my 20s. And that is not the norm. A lot of people, and these are people in my life, in my age group, will choose to spend that money on really big trips, on traveling, on buying a home, on weddings, on clothes, on all of these things. And there is nothing wrong with that. But I just knew that when I see myself as an investment, and I invest in my growth, in my healing, in my personal education, then it will pay me back more than tenfold over the next few decades. And I am happy to invest that money into myself now, because it's going to show up and support me in such important ways when I am in my 30s and in my 40s and in my 50s. It is an investment, which means that it's just going to keep giving and giving and giving. So that is my 30th and last lesson from these first 3 decades of my life. I hope that you enjoyed these. I would love to know which one resonated with you the most, which one you needed to hear the most. You can send me a DM on Instagram. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.